Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the SLC webinar for today. Today, we're going to be looking at IELTS writing, and we're focusing particularly on writing introductions for task 2. Now, before we start, I have a few comments about how we're going to run the webinar. Throughout the webinar, I'll be asking you questions and I'll be asking you to share your ideas or give some example sentences. And when I ask you these questions, please write your ideas and answers in the chat box, which you can see from, you can access from the toolbar at the top. Please make sure that you set it to sending your ideas to everyone so that we can all share ideas and share information. And then at the end, we'll also have some time for questions and answers, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. And for this, we can either use the chat box or the question and answer section in the toolbar at the top. So let's get started. Today we're going to be looking at what is an introduction and sharing our ideas on why an introduction for Task 2 IELTS is important. We're going to look at a general structure for Task 2 introductions, and then we're going to look at some examples for specific essay types. We'll look at example introductions, and we'll also look at some steps and formulas that you can follow in order to write your introductions for these different essay types. So we're going to look at advantages, disadvantages, problem or cause and solution, opinion and discussion, and then at the end we'll have a summary of what we've discussed today and also some ideas for resources for your self-study. So let's look first of all at what is an introduction. So thinking about IELTS Task 2, how can we define an introduction? I'd like you to share your ideas and write your ideas into the chat box. Good, so we've got some good points here from Irene. It's an opening statement, and Sergio tells us that it's it gives information about what the essay is going to be about. Simona tells us that it's a general view of the topic and a brief overview. And then we have an introduction is a general statement to explain your main topic from Roberto. Yes, so all of your ideas are similar to the ideas that we have here. So an introduction is always the first paragraph in the essay. It gives the reader details and information about the topic. It usually expresses your position or your opinion and gives a plan for your essay. So it's a clear opening paragraph that helps the examiner understand what your essay is going to be about. Now, we'll see in particular that some types of essays, it's a good idea to make your opinion very obvious in the introduction, and some essay types, you have a slightly different approach, but what's important to remember is that your position or opinion is clear throughout your essay. Okay, good. And then we also have a comment from Gerald here that in an IELTS writing, you should make sure you paraphrase the question, which is an important point that we'll come to slightly later. So the next question for you is, why are introductions important? So write your ideas in the chat box. Why is a task 2 IELTS introduction so important? Good. So we've got some good ideas coming in here. So Jenny, it shows your point of view. Aaron states that it somehow shows your stand, so your idea or position about the topic. Sergio tells us that it's the base of ideas that you have about the topic. And Simona and Roberto have similar ideas. It helps the reader understand the topic and it sets your plan. So it helps the examiner or the reader understand what your essay is going to be about. Great. So here, it's also important to remember that the introduction is the first paragraph that the examiner will read, and it can give a good or possibly bad first impression, and you should show the examiner what to expect in your essay. So introductions are really important when you're writing an IELTS essay. So let's have a look at a general structure for introductions. So a task 2 essay for the IELTS exam is usually 4 to 5 sentences, sometimes 6 sentences long. It gives the general topic of the essay, and it states the main point of the essay, which is also sometimes referred to as a thesis statement. Now notice that we've got a star here by the general topic. Make sure that your general statement is not too general. So your general statement for a task 2 essay should refer to the specific topic in the question, not the topic as a whole. So for example, if you're asked a question about traffic congestions in cities, your general statement could be about the problems that traffic congestion causes, and not general problems about cars or not general problems about cities. As a general rule or general structure for introductions, we usually go from general ideas to more specific ideas within the introduction. So this is a general point to bear in mind for whatever type of essay you're writing in the task 2 IELTS exam. So we're going to go on to look specifically at introductions for an advantages and disadvantages essay. So here's the title that we're going to use. Days, more and more people are going to countries for significant periods of time, either to find a job or study. There are clearly many benefits to doing this, but people who live abroad can face some difficulties. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of living and working in a foreign country. So this is our advantage, disadvantage essay title. I'm going to show you some sentences that you can include in an introduction for advantages, disadvantages essays, and I'd like you to think about the purpose or the function of each sentence. So this is our first sentence. Now, what would you say is the purpose or the function of this sentence? Write your ideas in the chat box. Good. So we've got some ideas coming through here. Simona's says it's an opening statement. Gerald says it's paraphrasing the question. Good. So it's doing both of these things. We're using different words to explain the main topic. So we can call this a general sentence about the topic or an opening sentence. Good. Now the next sentence is here. What is the purpose of this sentence, or what's the function of this sentence? Write your ideas in the chat box. Good. So this sentence is a supporting sentence about the topic. So this is an extra sentence to support our first sentence. So we start with a general topic, and as we've seen in introductions, we usually go from general to specific. So we start with a general sentence, we add an extra sentence to support the first sentence. The next sentence that we have is this one. So what is the function of this particular sentence here, the third sentence? Good. So we've got a couple of ideas here. So from Roberto, it's a balance to see both points of view. And Giulietta, it's introducing further discussion, and Simona, it's paraphrasing the main structure of the topic. Okay, good. So this particular sentence, we can say you focus the question in your own words. So this is another way of saying paraphrasing. So you're stating that there are two sides to this argument. You're paraphrasing the idea of benefits or advantages and disadvantages. The final statement that we have here is sentence number 4. So most of you have mentioned this already. It's important in an introduction to tell the reader or the examiner your plan. So you outline what you're going to do in your essay. So it's really important in each type of introduction, each type of essay, that you make sure the examiner knows what you're going to write about. So we can see that one way to structure an introduction for an advantages, disadvantage essay is to have 4 main points: a general statement, an extra sentence to support the first, focus the question or paraphrase the question in your own words, and tell the reader your plan. So the next type of essay we're going to look at is either a problem or cause and solution essay. Now here is our topic. Fewer people want to become teachers, particularly in secondary schools. What are the reasons for this, and how could the problem be solved? Now, we're going to look at a similar structure for a problem solution essay. So the first part we have in a paragraph plan, again, is a general statement about the topic, but we need to make sure that it is relevant to people becoming teachers in secondary schools rather than teaching in general. So the example we have here is information about a generation ago and teaching in high school or secondary schools, and the reason perhaps why it was popular and the situation now. So this is our general statement about the topic, our general statement about the problem and where this problem happens. In the next part, we need to focus the question in your own words, which we can also call paraphrasing, or describe the problem in your own words. So here we have more paraphrasing. Rather than fewer people, we have a sharp drop. And we have some similar words here, people who want to become high school teachers. So here we can see that we have a 3-part structure for a problem solution introduction, the final part being tell the reader your plan. So for a problem solution essay, one way that you can structure an introduction to give a general statement about the topic, focus the question in your own words, and tell the reader your plan. You might find that you can add some more information to sentence 2. You might want to give more specific information about the problem. So this is the part of your introduction where you could add a few more ideas here. So the next one we're going to look at, this is a very common essay type in IELTS. So it's an opinion essay, and it's the one that you have different possible structures for, and one that you will look at a lot during your course with SLC. So here is our opinion essay title. So it's about young people, technology, and your opinions. Now, I'm going to show you a possible introduction. It's made up of 4 sentences. I'd like you to read this introduction. And so you have sentence 1 to 4, and then you have functions A to D. And what I'd like you to do is read the introduction, 1 to 4, read the functions A to D, and then match them. So match 1 to 4 with A to D, and write your ideas in the chat box, please. Okay, so we've got some ideas coming through here. I think you're mostly right. Let's have a look. So we have 1 is D, so write a general statement about the topic. 2 is A, we add an extra sentence to support the first. 3 is B, where you focus or paraphrase the question in your own words. And then 4 is C, where you give your opinion and tell the reader your plan. So in an opinion essay, it's very important to make sure that you state your position or your opinion in the introduction. As we've seen with the other types of essays, this is not as perhaps as overt, so it's not as obvious, but it's still important. And in an opinion essay, you must make sure you state your opinion in the introduction. So we have, again, a 4-part introduction for opinion essays. Now, the next part we're going to look at is a discussion essay. Now, often discussion essays and opinion essays titles can often look quite similar. So we're going to have a look and have a think about the difference between a discussion essay and opinion essay. So I'd like you to read this essay title, and thinking about our previous title for an opinion essay, I'd like you to write your ideas in the chat box. What's the difference between writing an opinion essay and writing a discussion essay? Write your ideas in the chat box. Good. So one of the main differences in the instructions and which sides of the argument you are asked to write about. In an opinion essay, you'll be asked to discuss a view or discuss an opinion, or asked how far you agree with a particular statement. Now, in an opinion essay, you may decide that you completely agree or completely disagree, and in which case your essay can reflect that, or you may decide you agree more or you disagree more, and your essay will reflect that. In a discussion essay, you'll be asked in the instructions to discuss both views, so both sides of an argument or both views or sides of a topic, and also give your own opinion. So this is one of the main differences between opinion and discussion essay. So with that in mind, let's have a look at the example introduction for this particular essay title. And I'd like you to pinpoint and notice, how is the introduction for a discussion essay different to one for an opinion essay? Write your ideas in the chat box. So in a discussion essay, you need to make sure that both points of view are addressed or introduced in the introduction. So the difference that we can notice in the structure is opinion and discussion. We make a general statement and introduce the topic in your own words. You add a sentence to support, or you add an example to support the first sentence. The difference here is you must identify and state in your own words, or paraphrase, the two opinions or the two sides of the argument given to you in the question. And then we always outline your plan for the essay. So we've the difference between opinion and discussion essays is important and is sometimes easy to overlook if you're in a stressful situation in an exam. So it's always really important to make sure that you read the question carefully and use a structure for introductions for your task 2 essays. So we have some suggestions for some self-study resources. You have the IELTS Advantage Writing Skills course book that we've mainly been using for this webinar today. You can also look at Writing for IELTS by Collins, which gives you a guide to the different types of writing tasks, both task 1 and task 2. In detail. And you can also look at Improve Your IELTS Writing Skills by Macmillan. So here are some suggestions for self-study resources that you can access or you can find in addition to your classes. And in summary, our main tips for writing introductions: you should make sure that you follow a structure. So you may use one of the structures that we've looked at today, or you may use a slightly different one. Whichever structure you choose, it must your introduction must be organized and structured. You should write about 4 to 6 sentences in your introduction. You should include a plan, so tell the examiner what you're going to do in your essay. Make your position or make your opinion clear. As we've seen in an opinion or discussion essay, this may mean that you overtly expressed your opinion by saying, in my opinion, or it may be more implicit, but your position on the subject should be clear in an introduction. Make sure your ideas are relevant and specific. So make sure that you are answering the question that is asked of you, and make sure that your general statements are specific to the exact topic that you're being asked about and not too general. So thank you very much for listening, everybody. And we've now got some times for questions. So you can either write your questions in the chat box and we'll do our best to answer them, or you can write them into the question and answer section in the toolbar at the top. So we have a question from Lavinia. Is there going to be another class? In terms of webinars, we do webinars every 2 weeks for students who are taking classes with SLC. So there'll be another webinar in another couple of weeks. And in the meantime, our webinars are also put onto Specialist Language Courses YouTube channel. So you can access past webinars and any webinars that we've given here on the YouTube channel. And a question from Jenny. Are we finished with discussing task 1? So we have different topics each time we do a webinar. So we can look at different parts of the IELTS exam. So we've done some webinars on task 1, and we can certainly do some more in the future. So no, we haven't finished discussing task 1 of the IELTS. Okay, and a question from Aaron. Is there a specific structure that asks you if the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? Now, if you have a question in which you're asked, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? This is an opinion essay. So it's one of the ones that looks a bit like an advantage-disadvantage essay, but if we read carefully, we can see that you're actually being asked your opinion. So in this case, you could follow the structure for writing an opinion essay. Okay, so if there are any more questions to come through, if you put them in the chat box or the question and answer. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for coming along to our webinar and for participating and sharing your ideas with everybody. And we will be back in a couple of weeks with another webinar and another topic, and we look forward to seeing you then. Thank you very much.